I'm recording this on Sunday, just afternoon, and I'm coming back from church. And the reason that I feel it's so important to mention that is today. So, for those of you unaware, me and my girlfriend do go to Calvary in Tuscaloosa. And if you were following along on the show last season, you'll remember that I talked about we were at what's called Squad Sunday. And what Squad Sunday is for the last 62 years, Calvary Tuscaloosa has had the privilege of serving as the church that hosts Squad Sunday, which is where the Alabama football team and coaching staff comes in for church and they worship together. And the players are presented with, or the winners of the award are presented with the Charlie Compton Award for Outstanding Christian Leadership. And the Charlie Compton Award for Outstanding Christian Leadership is named after Charlie Compton, who was an Alabama football player. He also was a World War II legend. And he was known as a guy who, said, no matter what, just send me to the end of the world. I want to be able to glorify God. He died after 22 years serving in Brazil as a missionary, and he had this award named after him. And now that award annually is presented to the leaders on the team of Outstanding Christian Leadership. Last season, the winners of the award were Ty Simpson, Tim Keenan, Justice Haynes, and Graham Roten. So, they mentioned that multiple of the guys, potentially could have won the award a second time, but the winners of the award this season were Germie Bernard, Tim Keenan, Wilkin Formby, and Will Sanders. I think that it's really important to kind of note when they talk about this, it's, when you hear that guy Graham Roten, and I'm going to mention him because they talk about, hey, when you're talking about winning this award, there's everything from NFL MVPs to walk-ons, right? This is, at the end of the day, this is about how you lead, how you are as a person, and what you are in your day-to-day life. This has nothing to do with what you do on the football field, but more to do with who you are, right? And the reason I mention that is a couple of these guys, this season, are elite players, right? You have Germie Bernard, you have Tim Keenan, Wilkin Formby, all three guys, competing for starting positions. Two of those definitely have them. Then you have a guy in Will Sanders that's a freshman, right? But again, it's just who they are as a person and how they conduct themselves. That's what this award is all about. It's all about glorifying God, but it's also all about who you are as an individual. I think that is also really big that when you see a guy like Tim Keenan, he was one that again, he won the award last season, so I knew that this is how the players had thought of him. But this is also a situation where when you heard him at SEC Media Days, these comments around, glorifying God or helping out wanting to lead his teammates in this way. This is something that he talked about. So this is something that you definitely knew was who Tim Keenan is, and that's who he is as a person. But, you hear it exemplified over and over and over again. Again, a guy like Germie Bernard, when you hear the players talk about him, they talk about him as like, oh, that's Unc. That's our, that's the guy who looks after us. That's the guy who, we all look up to. Like Germie Bernard being this type of guy that leads from that type of example from a Christian leader, that again makes sense. But really what this is these are guys that are going above and beyond. They're exemplifying and glorifying God, but they're also just doing it in a way that is helping their teammates become better people, become better Christians, right? That's the whole purpose behind the award. I thought that it's really cool. I'll pop some pictures up here. I didn't take a ton just because trying to, at the end of the day, they were here for church, not for a photo op, but I did take a picture of our winners, receiving the award. I thought that it was very cool. And then additionally, I thought that the passage that was read that ended up being kind of what the sermon was based on today was Matthew 7:24 through 27. And it was talking about the Jesus saying that you had to build your foundation on rock instead of sand. Build it on a firm foundation because a firm foundation will be able to withstand anything. And Will, goes on to talk about, being, he, for those of you, that may have never been, Will, the pastor, was a runner at Auburn, was a college athlete, and he talked about how he was a, multiple time state champion in Alabama, but then he goes to college and all of a sudden he's no longer the fastest guy in the room, right? And that's something that I'm sure the football players can understand of like, hey, you were this all-state guy and all of a sudden now you're just one of multiple, right? It just becomes like, hey, you have to have some type of foundation to be able to actually withstand the hard times, whether it be someone dying, whether it be, you're no longer the best on your team, whether it be, you have a child that has a disability, whatever it ends up being, you have to have that solid foundation, and that solid foundation in this instance is Christ. I thought that it was really, really cool to see. I do, enjoy, being able to attend things like this. Like I said, we were already, planning to go to church at 9:45 this week. It just so happened that Squad Sunday was this Sunday. So, we were able to see it. I thought that it was very, very cool. I thought that, it is something when you can see the players and see the people that are, being normal human beings, being something outside of what you see on Saturday. I think that's a really, really cool environment to see, and I really do appreciate getting the opportunity to be able to see something like that. So I just felt it important to talk about today here at the top of the show, because I thought that it was very cool to be able to witness and experience.